Hello, gorgeous humans. We are here. We're live. I made it. Mercury is retrograding. Holy everything. It was like, and then this delay, and then that delay, and then this delay, and then that delay. But we're here. Happy Friday. How are you feeling? I'm excited to dive in with you today, even though it's going to be a little bit of a shorter one because, we're here. How are you feeling? Let's talk about that Lionsgate. First of all, let me know, is Mercury retrograding in your life? Because this morning I was just like, oh, okay, oh, okay, oh, okay. Just delay, delay, delay. And I always pay attention to it. Good morning, Chris. Because when we have big energy shifts, there is always this sort of aftermath momentum. You know what I mean? So yesterday we had Lionsgate. Now, I'm going to say this. I do not typically I never really thought about Lionsgate that much. You know what I mean? Like I was just like, cool, 888, that's amazing. I love that. I'm here for any portal. But I wasn't really thinking about it in terms of creating huge shifts. And then yesterday was like, you know what I mean? And it was a good thing, but it was huge energy yesterday. And then today I wake up and it's like, this isn't working and that's not working. This battery is dead and that battery is dead. And you've got to sit and have this conversation. I know you're supposed to be live right now, but you've got to have this conversation right now. It was just wild. So I pay attention because energies. And whenever we have a big shift, there is typically always some sort of chaotic momentum that plays out, which I think is a perfect thing for us to talk about today. Chris said, I'm not sure what's happening, but I woke up and I can't use my right hand. Okay, Chris. Well, first of all, medically, we always want to make sure that there's not something really crazy happening. But as you know, right side, masculine structure, hands represent your ability to handle life. So it could be something around structure and taking action in terms of handling your life. Energetically, also, go see your doctor. Okay, so let's talk about big energy shifts and how it feels when the momentum starts playing out. So everything has momentum. Everything has momentum. And we are either fueling that momentum or we are not fueling that momentum. So all of the things in your life kind of repeat in this kind of cyclical process, right? And it's either we are continuously repeating same thoughts, same belief systems, same feelings, which typically we are, whether we want to or not, we typically are because our thought system. So you think automatically without being able to control this at all, you think about 80 to 90,000 thoughts a day. And something like 90% of them are the exact same thoughts you had yesterday. Now, I find this really fascinating. And also, I find it fascinating that there's so many manifestation teachers and the inner work stuff that says, just think a better thought. And it's 80,000 times? What? And I get it. And it is helpful in the moment to think a better thought. But the truth of the matter is that the majority of our thoughts are on autopilot. And so we are not really in control of what we're thinking all the time. So a better methodology to that is to start getting into the root system of where the thought is coming from. When you get into the root system of where the thought is coming from, this is where we start to get into that reprogramming. Now, the more that you can reprogram yourself to a better belief system, meaning more expansive, less limited, to a higher vibrational thought process, then what happens is that those 80, 90,000 thoughts a day get a little upgrade. Now, if your 80 or 90,000 thoughts a day are getting an upgrade, that is going to directly affect how you feel, and then therefore the action you take. So you're shifting the energy while simultaneously you're going to start doing things differently. So with this cyclical process, with one little tweak in the subconscious mind, one little tweak upgrades it. to cycle in a higher vibration. Now, this is what I find is so fascinating and what I think is so cool, because once we understand the root of what's happening inside of us, we can uproot, replant, make a whole garden that is something we actually want to be living, versus feeling as though we're trapped and we're just on a repeated cycle of the same stuff day in, day out. Nobody loves that, right? So, thinking about it like this, everything has momentum. Everything is moving. Like, my mind is going because you've got our sun, you've got the earth always moving in a cycle around the sun. And then you've got our galaxy always moving in a cycle. So momentum and movement is happening all the time. Everything in our world operates like this. Everything happens in cycles. Our seasons, our years, everything happens in cycles. So if I can start to improve even by 1 millimeter, the present moment of where that cycle is coming from, then I'm going to uptick it to cycle in a different way. So this is what I love, this kind of the work that we do in here, because that's the work that creates magic. That's the work that creates miracles. Now there's a few key components with it, because it's not just what we're thinking, right? It's the energy we're holding in our body, and then it's the actions we're taking in our life, but it's all connected. So if I am aware and I'm saying, okay, I know that the 80,000 thoughts I'm thinking a day are stemming from my belief system. They're stemming from who I believe I am and what I believe is possible for me, AKA your identity. So you've got your identity, you've got your belief systems, then you've got your thoughts, feelings, which makes up your whole energy field, and then the actions you take from there, which is going to manifest the energy that you're in. So we see and then your manifested reality is always going to reconfirm your identity, which is who you believe you are and what you believe is possible for you. So you have this cycle that's always happening. But if we're not aware of it, that's what creates that feeling like I'm stuck, I'm trapped, I can't do anything about it. But if I start getting aware of it, it's like, okay, so I have a definition of self, right? Everybody does. You've got some definition of yourself. Whether you're aware of it or not is irrelevant. Like, it exists. So you've got your definition of who you are. And then you've got your definition of what you believe is possible for you specifically. This is the only thing that matters in terms of creating your own reality. Because you could be like, yeah, I believe that's possible. Like, I believe this crazy thing is possible. But in your psyche, it might be, but I don't believe it's possible for me. And that's where a lot of people get stuck. That's where a lot of the clients I work with get stuck, because they're like, I see it. I see it's possible, but there's something sneaky in the back of their minds in that subconscious garden that says, but not for me. Right. And so those kind of little things that you start to get aware of and you start to identify, well, then you can start saying like, well, why though? Why don't I believe it's possible for me? And when you start to dig into that, this is where you're surfacing up a belief, but 9 times out of 10, that belief system is attached to some emotional experience that happened this life or past life. And that emotional experience is energy. That's an energetic root in your body. So the formula that we're looking at here is I've got to first identify it with the mind, but then 9 times out of 10, it's going to uproot some emotionality in me. And that's where that true healing work begins. So when you identify that emotionality that's living in your body that has kind of been keeping all of this on repeat, and you get clear on that, and then the work that we do inside my containers is uproot, transmute, replant. So once you become aware of it, then you can do something about it. And I'm just a really big proponent on getting out of identifying with your feelings and identifying with your past, identifying with your trauma, identifying with all these things, even your belief systems. The way that I teach it is like, you got to create a little separation. You got to understand that who you actually are is higher consciousness, the divine in human experience. You are your higher self. Like, you are your higher self. That's the truth of who you are. But you're kind of plugged into this whole human experience where you've had things happen to you. You've had belief systems come into play. You've had trauma and emotions that are operating all on their own, right? So you want to become the witnesser of all of these things that are going on inside of you. You want to witness the belief system. You want to witness the identity. You want to witness the feelings. When you can kind of create that little bit of separation, the coolest part about this is that since you're no longer identified with how you feel, how you think, and what you believe, now you can change it. And that is where we really get to start playing, because that's where we start to create these magic and miracles. That's where we are no longer in the passenger seat to our own life. We're taking the helm and we're saying, oh my God, I'm actually in charge here. Like, I am actually the one who is driving this whole thing. So once you start making little tweaks to any of these, and I'm a really big fan of 1 millimeter shifts, because a 1 millimeter shift is an entirely different reality. Like, it's an entirely different reality. 1 millimeter shift in what you believe is going to shift your whole world. 1 millimeter shift in your identity is really going to shift your whole world. Like, 1 millimeter shifts, because it's better. It's better and it's sustainable. When we take these really big leaps, or we try to force a big leap, most of the time we end up getting knocked back down further than we were before, because it's too much. It's like trying to plug in like a 90 volt into like a 1000 voltage plug-in. Like, it's too much energy and it will knock you down. And as we've talked about in here for now more than a month, it will burn you out. It's going to burn out your nervous system, because if your system isn't prepared to handle that big leap, it's just going to fry it out. Like, we're just energy. And I know it's kind of hard for us to kind of wrap our heads around that, but we're just energy. So it's so much better to do these little 1 millimeter shifts. And first and foremost, obviously, you got to get aware of the things that are happening on a regular basis anyway, not identify with them, start to see them as like, oh, that's just been operating, like almost like a computer program. Like, oh, that's just the program that's been running. Let me reprogram it, right? And as you reprogram it, it auto runs. Everything runs in a cycle. Everything is cyclical. You change one little thing, it's going to change the cycle. And so we see here, right? Momentum. Everything has momentum. Now, the flip of this is also true. If you don't change the cycle, you're identified with the cycle, you're giving it emotional energy, you're constantly redoing the same thought, same belief, same action, you're fueling that momentum to keep going. Do you see what I'm saying? So everything has momentum, and we are the ones who are fueling it or reprogramming it and then deciding where we want it to go. That is our power. That's how we have control over everything. Now, granted, nobody really teaches us this stuff growing up, right? Most of the time we're taught like, you get a job, you survive, and you hope for happiness. Let's eradicate that. You know what I mean? Like, let's not do that. Let's take the helm. Let's be the captains of our own ship. Let's drive this thing how we want to be driving it. But the way that you do that is you have to get comfortable with looking at yourself. And the way that I like to see it is like, look at yourself like an experiment. Look at your life like an experiment. Make it a science experiment. If I shift this one thing, then how does that end up playing out? If I don't do that action and I do this action, what does that end up creating? Because every single day we are making a bajillion decisions all the time, whether we're conscious of it or not. And the truth of the matter is that at any point in time, you could choose to do something else. And in that choice, it is going to create an entirely different experience of reality. Whether you decide to go to the grocery store at 2 o'clock or 5 o'clock, it is going to create an entirely different reality. Because at 2 o'clock, you're going to have whatever that experience was, certain people showing up, certain people not showing up, traffic being a certain way, not being a certain way, whatever, like all these things that we don't even know about. Versus if you go at 5 o'clock, it's going to be a totally different experience. So we're creating it all the time. Can we know the future? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. We know nothing. And the more that we can accept that, the better and easier life is going to be. We have no idea what can happen. And I have seen this play out in the wildest ways, so much so that now it's like nothing is impossible. Like, I mean, I still have to like fight my own ego because the ego wants to predict the future based on the past. But my life experience has shown me the exact opposite. Like, what's predictable based on the past is actually the least likely, especially if you do this work. The more that you work on yourself, the more you're looking at your belief systems, the more that you're paying attention to how you feel, the more you're getting clear on who you're identifying as, and you're making those little 1 millimeter tweaks, guaranteed your future will be different than your past. It's impossible for it not to be. And so it's like, let's just see where life goes. And the more centered and grounded I am in myself, the less I fear that future being unknown. Do you know what I mean? I'm not going to be afraid of not knowing what's going to happen because everywhere I go, I am carrying my center, my groundedness, me. I trust me in terms of being able to handle what life throws at me. Now, I have a very foundational core belief system around that, in that I am the one who is creating my reality all the time in terms of like my energetic vibration. So life cannot hand me anything that I can't handle because I am the one who's creating it. That's like, whoo, way up here. But it's very helpful in terms of stepping into the unknown. Like I run a business. Every day is the unknown. I have no idea what's going to happen half the time, right? It's like it's nothing but uncertainty. So you have to learn to play and get comfortable in uncertainty, finding your centered groundedness in yourself, because that is what is going to carry you into all of these different timelines of reality and different choices, creating different outcomes. That is what's going to take you. And that's where your peace and your calm is going to come from. It's not going to come from the outside world. Like, oh, well, I can guarantee these things are going to happen. And so I'm calm. Well, no, you can't. You can't guarantee that. The whole world could change tomorrow. We saw that with COVID. Like, you can't guarantee anything in the external world. The only guarantee you have is yourself. That's it. And this is why working on yourself, grounding into who you are, building that solidified, stable state within you, connecting to whatever it is you believe in, that higher power that is supporting us and loving us through everything, allowing that to be your ground, you can handle anything. You can handle it all. So the core belief system becomes very, very important because it's your fallback. That's what kind of guides you in everything that you do. So when you're looking at your own life, if you have a constant state of fear of the future, don't just buy into that. Get curious about it. Why? Like, why am I afraid of the future? Why am I afraid of the unknown? It's going to lead you back to you don't trust yourself. It's going to lead you back to you don't trust life. Trusting yourself and trusting life are the exact same thing, by the way, the exact same thing. So it's going to lead you back to some of those core belief systems that you need to look at. And if you can separate from them and just realize you've just been operating in a program that's been running, well, then I can look at those belief systems and I can say, like, that's not really working out for me, is it? Like, I don't really want to be afraid of the future all the time. Like, that's not a fun game I want to play. And so then you start to make those moves to rewire the systems, but also starting to build that inner stability, inner trust with yourself. Because that's the key. Like that's the secret golden key. The more you can trust yourself, the more you trust life. And the more you trust life, well, now you're not fearing it anymore. Makes sense. Good morning, Desi. Happy Friday. Okay. I think we're going to close it there. That was good. That was really good, potent 20 minutes. I love you guys so much. Thank you for being here live. Thank you for giving me the grace of Mercury retrograde. Absolutely insane today. But it feels good. It feels good. I feel like a good momentum right now, and I'm really, really excited about it. I'm gonna take a moment and celebrate. We closed the launch of Miracle Matrix. We have 6 incredible women who have joined to do this work with me for the next 3 months, and I'm vibing. We did our first official module yesterday. It was a 90-minute module laying the foundation of your inner world and your outer world. It was just phenomenal. And I'm so grateful. I'm so excited. I just feel like we're really stepping into some big magic. Yeah. All right, my loves, I love you. I'm going to run. I have calls all day, and then I've got to pick up my kids, and we're doing school shopping. So my day is about to be like over in 2 seconds. I love you. I will see you on Monday for another episode of the morning show. Have a beautiful rest of your day and have a beautiful weekend. Bye, loves.